Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making this Pikachu, which is quite large. Actually, measurements were up on the screen. If you missed them, you'll have to back up. Quite large. When I measured this all. His tail's quite heavy. I'm actually not going to probably stuff it as much as I stuffed this one, but he's pretty large. So anyway, let's get started. It's going to be a long project, so I'm going to try to make this video as short as I can, so you might have a lot of pause screens just because I'm just trying to keep it short. That doesn't take away from the tutorial at all. So we're going to start with a magic ring. And we're going to single crochet 8. Oh, I am using a 4.5. You've probably seen that on the screen. It does not have a letter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's no letter associated with a 4.5 hook that I am aware of. So in each of these 8 stitches, you're going to put 2 single crochets. After your first stitch, you can put in a stitch marker, and then you can put your second stitch in, and then 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for 16 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So put in your 1 single crochet to that little tiny stitch that almost gets forgotten. Then your next stitch is going to be an increase, so that's 2 single crochets into that stitch, 1 single crochet and an increase. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You're going to do that all the way around for a total of 24 stitches at the end. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So don't forget this tiny little stitch right there. That's 1. That's 2. And then your increase. So 1, 1, 2. All the way around. When you get back to your marker, you should have 32 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So I've done my 32 stitches. So the next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. This is where you can actually count to see if you have 32 stitches, and if not, then you can correct it before we continue with our increases. So I will meet you after the pause screen. Okay, so your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and at the end of it you should have 40 stitches. So that's number 1, 2, and 3, and then 2 in this stitch. So that's your increase. So repeat this all the way around and you'll have 40 stitches at the end, and I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and then at the end of it you should have 48 stitches. So that's your first stitch with your marker. Two, 3, and 4. And then your next stitch is going to be 2 in the same hole for your increase. So you can repeat that all the way around. And I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch for 48 stitches. And then we're going to do 1 more increase round after that. And then just regular single crochets, and then we'll start to decrease. So this round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of the 48 stitches. And I will leave you to it, and I will meet you back on the other side of the pause screen. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. So you're going to have 56 stitches at the end of it. I had an extra stitch, so I just stitched 2 together to make 1 stitch. So I've already got my 1. That's 5 single crochets. And then 2 in the same stitch for your increase. So repeat this all the way around, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. You should have 56 stitches. The next 10 rows are going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. I'll put up my pause screen and I'll meet you on the other side of your 10 rows. Alright, I got my 10 rows done, so this is what it should look like. So we're going to start decreasing. And we're going to start decreasing with 5 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1 with your stitch marker. Whoops. That's 5 single crochets, and then your decrease is going to be 2 together. To go away and grab some yarn, come through, don't do anything. Go into the next stitch, grab some more yarn, come through, you'll have 3 loops. You're going to pull through all those 3 loops. That's how you do 2 together, and that's your decrease. So sometimes you'll see it written as SC2 tog, and that means single crochet 2 together, and that's exactly what it means. Or you'll just see it as decrease, and if you're doing single crochet, then you know that it's single crochet 2 together. So repeat that all the way around, and at the end of it you should have 48 stitches, and I'll meet you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, and at the end of that you'll have 40 stitches. Go put in your first one with your stitch marker. That's 4, and then 2 together. So do all that all the way around, repeat, and I will meet you back on the other side. So let's put some stuffing inside. So to keep my stuff round, I like to just push it out. And then I take some more filling and I stick it down the center hole that I just dug. That's how I like to stuff stuff. And for now I'm not going to overstuff it, I'm just going to stuff it a little bit. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. Touch first one with your stitch marker. Three single crochets and your decrease. All the way around, and at the end you should have 32 stitches. And I will meet you back here when you're done. So for the next 3 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And then we're going to decrease again after that. So we're getting there. You can stuff along the way if you want. And I will meet you back here after your 3 rows are done. So this is what you should have. Should look like a little bomb at this point. So once your 3 rows are done, you can do 2 single crochets and a decrease. That's number 1 with the stitch marker. That's number 2. And your decrease. So you do that all the way around, and when you get back around you should have 24 stitches, and then you can do 2 more rows of single crochet, and I will meet you. I'll put this all up on the screen, no worries, and I will meet you back after all of that is done, and we can proceed. Alright, this is what it should look like so far. So we're going to start increasing for the head now. So we're going to do 2 single crochets in every stitch around. Because we also want a nice round head. So 2 single crochets in every stitch around. At the end of it you should have 48 stitches, and I will see you back on the other side. So you should have 48 stitches, and for the next 6 rounds you're going to put 1 single crochet into each of those 48 stitches. And if you don't have 48, this is where you can add or take away and correct that. So I'll see you back here after our 6 rows. Alright, so this is what it should look like now. So we're going to do a decrease row. So it's going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. So there's your 1 single crochet with your stitch marker. And then a decrease. One single crochet and a decrease. So you can do this all the way around. And at the end of it, you should have 32 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So you should have 32 stitches around, and for the next 7 rows you're going to be able to count that. For the next 7 rows you're going to, and I know this seems like a lot, I'm just trying to make it easy when I make, when I design these things, I try to make it as easy as possible. So I know I'm putting a lot of pause screens up in this video, but we have a lot to do for this guy. So 32 stitches. You have 7 rounds to correct it if you don't have 32 stitches. And after we do our 7 rows, I'm going to meet you back here, and we are going to put the eyes on. We're going to do the eyes, and we're going to do the only reason I say that is we're not doing safety eyes. We're going to actually crochet the eyes, but then we're going to tie everything at the back so that there's no way ever that these are going to come undone or be able to, anything fall out or anything. So do your 7 rows. We'll come back, we'll get the eyes done and the cheeks done and the nose and the mouth and all that good stuff, and then we'll start decreasing and close up the head. So I'll see you back after. Okay, so I know how funny this looks right now, but I'm going to put some stuffing in it. Just not really much in the head part, because I'm going to make the eyes, and I just haven't been stuffing along the way because I find it hard and awkward to hold. So I'm not going to do a whole lot because I don't want this in the way for when I'm trying to tie my eyes. But I have none in the neck part, so I'm going to finish stuffing that after. I want to get some eyes and stuff done. So we start with white for the eyes. And hopefully, I'm just going to move in a bit. Hopefully you can see me okay. So we're going to make a magic ring with the white. I had to put my camera up high for the doll, but so hopefully I can manage to stay on camera for you. So we are going to put 4 single crochets in here. Oops. Going to attach the black. So once you've pulled your middle, once you go through your stitch, you can attach your black. Do your stitch. Pull down on your white because that'll bring your black right down. Now you're going to have to weave. I'm going to weave my tail in as well. So I'm going to weave all three. It's going to be a real pain in the butt. So that's your one single crochet, and in the same stitch you're going to put a half double crochet. Yes, this is going to be awkward. Now if you don't want to add your tail, we don't have to add the tail. At least you're black and white. So in the next stitch, you're going to do a half double crochet. Not getting any of that white in there. Do another half double crochet in the same space. And then in the same space again, you're going to do a double crochet. In the next stitch, you're going to do a double crochet. And then 2 half double crochets, and all in the same space. And in the final stitch, you're going to do a half double crochet. Now it's kind of turned over in that. You just make sure you get those 2 pieces of yarn. Half double crochet and a single crochet. So that ends that. Easy peasy. Now we're going to fasten off, but we're not going to slip stitch anything. You're just going to fasten off right there. So do it with sewing tail. I hope all of that was on camera. The camera's really high up right now, so I can't see it. Cut this white off since we didn't bother to weave it around. I'm going to cut it off quite a ways away. I'm going to tie these 2 pieces together just because I didn't get it weaved in and I'm afraid it might come undone. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a knot right there. And then I'll just tuck all of this inside the head of the doll when I go to sew it on. So that's one eyeball. You can go ahead and do the other eyeball. And I will put up on the screen what you got to do. And I'll meet you back here when you're done. Alright, so let's move on to the cheeks. I don't like the look of that. Garbage. So the cheeks are just as easy peasy as anything else we've been doing. You can just make a magic ring. You're going to put 6 single crochets inside of this ring. And then you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. And then you're going to fasten off with sewing tail. So you should have 12 stitches in this. So that was my 12. You can go right into the next stitch, slip stitch, and fasten off for the sewing tail, which doesn't have to be super duper long. And there you have your cheek. So, get your needles, get your stuff, and we'll get sewing some stuff on. Okay, so we're going to sew our eyes on kind of slanty like. This is all sewn on. So, I think the easiest thing is to do the eyes first and then work around the eyes so that you can get everything in the right spot. So we're going to have to use him as a reference. So you might see me pulling him over a bit or a few times. So the eyes, so I actually didn't write down where I put my eyes. Let's start from the neck maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 and 11th from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So somewhere around here. Which is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, between 5 and 6 from the top. 5th and 6th row from the top. So for starters, I'm going to take all this gunk and I'm going to put it, once I figure out where I want my eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put it down there. And then I'm going to pull all this crap through to the back. All of it. So I hope you can see me. My camera's really up high, so I'm not sure. So I'm going to make sure that my eye is turned, so my eye, the white is looking up like that. And I am going to tie a knot. But it doesn't mean to say it's not going to move. And when I come back around, I'm going to put the black. I'm going to attach the black too. So, I'm not going to go into the white to do any sewing. I'm just going to come through with the black. And I'm just going to go in and out, obviously, all the way around. Short stitches in the back, long stitches, or short stitches in the front, long stitches in the back. It doesn't have to be that super secure because we are tying everything in the back, so it's not going anywhere. The reason I say short stitches in the front is because you will be able to see these, well, with other colors. And black you won't. You can't seem to see anything with black. So, pretty quick. I'm going to tie this to all this other mess. Seem to have a tying problem today. There we go. So, snugly, but not tight, because you don't want to deform your eye or anything, but cut off the excess. That is one eyeball. There we go. So next we will do our nose and mouth. On camera would be helpful. There's many ways that you can do a nose. And you know what? I didn't come out into the right spot, so I'm just going to go back down into this guy. Because you don't need to sew it on like it's stuffed, because it's not stuffed. So I'm just gonna have to go over that again. It's no big deal. So find your middle. So I'm going to come down here. Cheeks. You can put them anywhere. Alright, so I stuffed my head a little bit, finished all my sewing. That's what I got. I hope yours looks okay. So we can start closing this head up here. So we're going to do decrease, decrease, decrease. We're going to do really, really quick close up. We're going to do 3 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1. Don't forget to stuff along the way. That's number 2, and 3 single crochets, and then your decrease. So our next round is going to be 2 single crochet and a decrease. Don't forget, this is always number 1. 2 single crochets and a decrease. So your next 2 rows are going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, and then you can fasten off. So don't forget to stuff. And I'll meet you back here after our next 2 rows. So next 2 rows going to be up on the screen so you know what you're doing, and I'll meet you back here after. So that's about all I got left in my head. So I did my 2 rounds of 1 single crochet decrease. I'm going to go into this next stitch. I'm going to slip stitch, and I'm going to pull, and I'm going to leave enough, get my stuffing out of the way, that I can weave. So not only sew the top shut, but I want to be able to weave a significant amount. So get your You're going to go in, then you're going to go out. You're going to go in, and you're going to go out. Just keep doing that till you get back to your knot. And it's just 1 piece of thread. It's not both. It's 1 piece. So I'm back to my knot where I did my slip stitch. So once you're back, you're just going to pull it, and it's going to close. And then you can just secure it. And we are putting ears up here, so you can see it still has his big fat cheeks. You can see the shape of the head now a little more defined, so he's got his spot for his big fat cheeks. So I am going to weave in and out. Just to secure this. So you can go down as close as you can to this, go in. The reason being is when you weave and you come out somewhere else and you pull, that's just going to look like a stitch. Don't pull tight though, because then you're going to end up with a divot in your head. So I'll show you that again. Let's go this way. So come down as close as you can to your lead. So when you pull, it just looks like a stitch. So out of security is to just tie a knot. Cut off a little bit, but kind of leave some. You're just going to push that knot down inside your stuffing, plus that tail. And theory is, and I've never really had a problem with anything coming undone, the theory is that knot's going to get all jacked up inside your stuffing. So I think now that we've got the head done on the one we're building, I think we'll do some ears. Alright, so you get your black, we're going to make a magic ring. And you're going to put 4 single crochets inside that magic ring. Black is so hard to work with because it's so hard to see. So this round you're going to go 1 2 1 2 1 2. Well, not that many times. 1 2 1 2. So your first stitch is going to get 1 single crochet. Your next stitch, which is so hard to see, is going to get 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Then your next stitch after that is going to get 1 single crochet. And your final stitch, which is some turny over thing, is going to get 2 single crochets. So at this point, you're going to need to turn it right side in, because it's just going to be too difficult to carry on. Because it's so small, but we need it to be pointy. So I'm just pulling on this to make sure my center hole is closed nice and tight. So your next round is going to be 1 1 2. So in your first stitch, you're going to put 1 single crochet in your stitch marker. Your next stitch is going to be 2 single crochets. Your next stitch, did I just do 2 in there? Yeah. Next stitch is going to be 1. Next stitch is going to be 1. I feel like I've done something wrong. I did do something wrong. What did I do wrong? I didn't go 1 1 2. Okay, let me back up. So this is my first stitch. 1 single crochet in here, so 1 1 2. Then 2 single crochets in here. Man, black is hard to work with. Then 1, 1, and this last stitch gets 2. I can't see a thing. This is why I'm going so slow, because I can't see anything. I hate working with black because I just can't see it. I can't see the stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. We're almost done with this black. We're going to switch to yellow soon. So that's your first one. That's 2. This is 3. I'm just feeling my way with the hook. And then 2 single crochets in here. So 3 single crochets and an increase. Repeat. 1 single crochet. 1 single crochet. 1 single crochet. And your increase. So for the rest of your black, you're going to do 4 rows of single crochet. You should have 10 stitches. So use your stitch marker, count to 40. Either way, 4 rows of the black, and then we're going to switch to the yellow. So I will meet you right back here after that. Okay, so I'm done my black. So you're going to go right into your next stitch. You're going to switch to yellow. So you're basically just going to make a loop. Or you can do a slip knot if you want, but pull through and then pull through for your stitch. Pull this tight. Pull your black tight because that pulls your stitch right down. So once everything is pulled tight, don't forget, you're going to have to weave these in. So you're going to do 14 rows of the yellow. Starting now. So this isn't a freebie row, this is a counting row. So 14 rows of the yellow. And I will meet you right. I'm going to put my pause screen up for you guys, and then when you're done this one, this is the end. You can fasten off with a sewing tail, and I will put my pattern up, and you guys can make your second piece, and I will meet you back here once both your ears are made, and we'll get them sewn on. Alright, so I have both my ears done. This one I've already fastened off. This one I have to fasten off still, so I'm just going to go and do a slip stitch. And I'm going to fasten off with a sewing tail. Pull that through like that. And you're going to come in here. And you're going to pull that through like that. So when I sewed these on, I didn't fold them in half. I just sewed them on like this. So it seemed to be aesthetically okay, but a little bit trickier. But again, don't take sewing lessons from me. But I basically, oh, that's not going to work. Hold on, gotta raise my camera. Alright. So you gotta figure out where you want them, where you want it. And I mean, they really come off the side of the head. You'll have to look up a picture of your Pikachu. So anyway, I just go right to kind of, once I found my spot, I just go into the head to kind of, I go back down roughly the same hole, and I'm going to pop out basically where I just went in, but right next door. So don't pull tight if you don't get the same hole, which obviously I didn't get the same hole because it made a little bit of a divot. I'm going to pull tight when I go back this way, but you can do hidden stitches, which is going down into the doll and coming up. So when you pull, that stitch gets sucked underneath the ear. This is the best way to sew something on because I feel that, and you could disagree with me, but I feel that it gives a better hold. Oh, that part's tight just because that's where I fastened off. You can pull tighter as opposed to going in and out of the head. I just feel that you can pull tighter. I keep squeezing it because I want it to be actually round. I hope I'm still on camera. When I raise my camera like this, I can't really see the screen anymore, so I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but hopefully. Still waiting on my wide angle lens to come in. I ordered it online. And, you know, during a pandemic, everything's been kind of slow going as far as the orders go. So you're gonna have to make sure it's in the middle this way. I guess I should have mentioned that. I guess I should have checked. I didn't even actually check to make sure mine was in the middle. So you get the idea. So I'm gonna probably speed this up if I haven't already. And meet you back here. You can sew your other ear on too. I'm not going to do that with you. So once you have it all sewn on, you can just weave in back and forth just like we normally do. Going in as close as you can to that tail. Popping out somewhere. Try to really ram it down into that your stuffing, because that's the whole point. You don't have to go far. You also don't have to tie a knot like I generally do. So go ahead and sew your other ear on and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so I'm going to leave the I'm going to leave that tail till the last because it's big and it's going to probably be awkward to sew stuff on. Let's do the arms next. Then we'll just stay with our yellow. So the arms is a magic ring with 6 single crochets in the middle. So this round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase all the way around. So that's 1. Your next stitch is going to be 2 single crochets. Next stitch is going to be 1. Next stitch is going to be 2. Next stitch is 1, and your final stitch should be 2 single crochets. So you should have 9 stitches. Your next row is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, so you should have 12 stitches at the end of this. So that's 1 single crochet. Two single crochets. Now keep in mind these are kind of bent over a little bit, so you're gonna have to get up underneath them. And then 2 single crochets in here. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, one more time. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. So you can go ahead and turn this right side in if you're getting uncomfortable. Pull your tail closed, flip it over. So for the next 12 rows, you're going to put 12 stitches in. So you should have 12 stitches around. So for the next 12 rows, you're just going to do 1 in each stitch. And I will meet you back here after, and we'll put the little claws on, and I'll put the pattern up so you can make your second one, because you can just log off after your 12 rows, and then we'll do the claws together on each foot. So I'll put my screens up and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so I got both mine done. I sewed one of my tops and I added claws, and then I saved this one for us to do. So I've got it all stuffed already. We're just going to go into the next stitch. We're going to slip stitch and then fasten off with the tail. Pull that through like that. Tighten your little knot up. We're going to go into the stitch like this. We're going to pull through. And we're going to kind of pull across, and kind of makes it a little evener. So before we do the claws, we're going to sew the top shut. So we know where we're putting our claws. So make sure your little doodad's on the side here. Squeeze that shut. Now this doesn't have to be pretty, it's just going to be sewn onto something. It's not like it has to be pretty. But just try to go into the stitches, not the actual arm. So that's my arm sewn shut. So you're going to need some black, obviously. We're going to make a knot on one end. Actually, I'm going to make a double knot. So on the other end, you're going to thread your needle. So I'm going to come up to the bottom. You can come up anywhere, through the side, you can come up anywhere. But I'm going to come up, figure out where I want my first claw. I think I will come up right about there. And then I'm going to go down. That's going to make my first claw, but then I'm going to come up where I want my second claw to be. No, not quite there. So I want my second claw to come up to be here. So I'm going to come up here. Does that make sense? But this claw will still be over here. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Instead of coming straight down where I want it, I'm going to go into straight below this, but then I'm going to angle it and come up here where I want my other claw to come out. Get all your crap out of the way. So you just kind of got to guide it where you want your second claw. pull snug. So then this guy, you're just going to come down and do whatever you want with him. He can pop out wherever. I'm going to get my needle into it. So I'm just going to pop out over here. So I'm just going to cut that off. Anyway, so I am pulling way too much through here. There we go. So you just have to guide your claw. So that's my other claw. There, my claws are done. So then this, snip off a little high so that you can make a knot. My camera's gonna die, so if it dies before I've done this, you know what happened. So make a knot. And now you've got these two ends with knots. Snip off just a little bit of that. We're just going to push this straight down into your arm, into the stuffing, so it gets lodged in there. And do the same thing for your start. I made a double knot here so that it really won't move. Can't seem to get into it to push it down. There we go. So just push this guy down into the stuffing. There. And that's your claws. So I'm going to change my battery and I'll meet you back here and we'll sew on our little feetsies, or little arms. Little feetsies, little arms. Alright, so let's get our arms sewn on. So figure out where you need your arms to be. This doll was designed for it to come right off the neck. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, is come off the neck. So I just went down into the doll and then up. So I'm just going to do the hidden stitches. So I'm going to go in as close as I can to the doll, close as I can to the arm, and I'm going to come up. And it's going to suck my stitch right down underneath the arm, so you're not going to see it. And you're only going to do the top of the arm. I want you to do the bottom of the arm, because then the arm will stick out too far. So just try to come up into each stitch area. Pull nice and snug so that it sucks that stitch right down in there. So Pikachu's arms are somewhere near the front part of his body as opposed to being on the side. So that's why he's getting arms where he's getting arms. It's not meant to look funny, it's just meant to look like Pikachu. Actually, I don't want to come up that far. Sorry, I keep banging you. Very difficult to do this on camera. So, once you're satisfied with where your arm is, you can start to weave. In and out. Wherever you want. Just don't pull tight. There's no need to pull tight anymore. You're just weaving. And the only reason you're weaving is you want that to look like a stitch. That's why I say don't pull tight. The only reason you're weaving is if this does try to come open, it's gotta go in multiple directions through multiple pieces of stuffing and before that arm comes off. So extra precaution is to tie a knot after you've done all your weaving. Cut a little bit off. I don't need to jam all that down in there. And then just jam down your knot into that stuffing and the little tail. So there's arm number 1. Now it's hard to see. So go ahead and sew your second arm on. I'll meet you back here and we'll get the feet started. Alrighty, I got both my arms on now. So let's move on to the feet. Oh, I just lost my ball. So the feet are a tad bit different. They're shorter. You're still going to start with a magic ring. You put 6 single crochets in the center. You're going to put 2 single crochets in an increase. So that's your first single crochet. This is your second single crochet. Then your increase is 2 in this hole. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. One, and then 2 single crochets in this last stitch. So you should have a total of 8 stitches right now. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. So your stitches are slightly bent over a little bit. That's number 1 at your stitch marker. That's number 2. And this is number 3. 3 single crochets and an increase. So this one gets 2 single crochets, and then you're going to repeat that. There's 1, 2, 3 single crochets and an increase just before your marker. So you should have a total of 10 stitches by now. So for the next 3 rows, you're going to put 1 in each of those 10 stitches. So you can turn it inside out, or right side in actually. So for the next 3 rows, 1 in each stitch all the way around, you should have 10 stitches. So count to 30 or use your stitch marker, and I will see you back here in a minute. So I've got my 3 rows done. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. So that's number 1. That's my 4, and then the next stitch gets your increase of 2 single crochets. That's 4, and then your increase. So you should have a total of 12 stitches at this point. And from here we're going to do 6 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I want you to do your 6 rows, and then I want you to build your second foot. I will put my screens up with the patterns on them. And then we'll do the same thing with the arms. I'll meet you back here, and we'll put the claws on, and we'll sew them on, and then the last bit of it is just the tail. See you soon. Okie dokie, so I got my one done with my claws and my sewing tail, which I think is actually way too long. Got some of my sewing tail off. Anyway, this one I haven't done yet. We're going to go into the next stitch. You're going to slip stitch, pull tight, fasten off with your sewing tail. go into the next stitch. Pull this guy through. Kind of pull. It evens everything up a little bit. So we're going to sew it together first, sew the top shut, before we put the claws on. So close this up, make sure this is over at this side. So this doesn't have to be pretty, it's just getting sewn to the doll, so just needs to be closed, but just because it's easier to sew on if it's closed. After you've stuffed it, of course. Hopefully you've stuffed it. I guess I didn't really add that to my thing. I don't think I need to. So, still got some of my black left over. Tie a knot. I don't think it has to be double. I mean, it's up to you. It all depends on the size of the yarn you're using. I'm using a 4-weight. I don't personally think it has to be a double knot. But if you're using something that's not a worsted or something that's, you know, maybe lighter, then a double knot's probably a good idea. So anyway, just like before, you can start anywhere you want and come up where you want your first claw to be. So when you come down, you're going to go sideways to where you want your second claw to be, just like that. But when you pull, it will put your first claw in. So same thing with your second claw. You want to come down, but then you want to go up to where you want your third claw to be. So you just kind of got to guide the middle. Actually, I don't like him way over there either. So you can just fix it by pulling on that. And then I gotta pull on that. So we want to keep it snug. We don't want to miss shape in the foot. I think I might have pulled too hard. So come down where you want your other claw to be, and then you can just pop out anywhere you want. So you get your third claw in there. Like that. You can use either side, whatever side you think turned out better. And then cut high enough that you can tie a knot with this. Well, that might have been a little short. Anyway, you want to tie a knot. And push it down as far as you can. So you're going to jam that down into the stuffing, tail and all. So that's going to get jammed into the stuffing. Hopefully far enough that you can't see the black through there. And it shouldn't pull out. Same as this guy that you started with. You're going to jam that knot down into the stuffing, tail and all. So you shouldn't see it. So there we go, we got our 2 feet with our claws, so we can get that sewn on. So I attach them the 4th row up from the center. 1, 2, 3, 4. So somewhere around there is where I attached it, like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4th row from the center. You can decide, obviously, where you're gonna just do. You can do any kind of stitches you want. I'm gonna do an invisible stitches again. You can decide how far apart you want them. It all depends on whether you want it to sit up on its own or not. Now the tail is quite heavy. Hopefully we can remedy this in this video and not have the tail so heavy. I think I'm just maybe not going to put as much stuffing into the tail. There, we're not going to sew the top. I'm just sewing the bottom of the leg. So once you're satisfied with where your leg is, you know, obviously, or your foot, you're obviously going to go in, pull tight, and then just weave. Oh, I just knocked something off my table. Look at my ball of yellow. So make sure you get right down into that stuffing because you want it to kind of get stuck in there a bit. There's my leg. You just gotta move the fabric around after you're done. So go ahead and sew your second leg on, and I'll meet you back here to do the tail. Here's my feet. They might be a little far apart. I might have to fix that after the video, but that's my feet, my arms. So the last thing we have to do is the tail. We have to start a new cake. So the tail is built flat because I could not find any other way to do it. I tried multiple ways and I could not find any way to do it. So it is built flat. So the only thing you got to do right now is to make a slip knot. You're going to chain 21. That's mid 21. You're going to single crochet 20 back up. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do this for the next 12 rows. So you should have 13 rows all together. So we just did 12. Oops. So we just did 12 rows plus the one that we had done before is 13. So you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn and you're going to do 8 single crochets. That's 8. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn and you're going to do this for 8 rows. So I'll meet you back after your 8 rows. Alright, that's my 8 rows. So you've got it like this. Now I want you to turn it like this. And you're going to do 6 single crochets across here. So you're going to have to make stitches. You can basically get in the beginning of every row. Or wherever you can get your hook into. And chain 1, you're going to repeat this for 8 rows. And I'll see you back. So now I want you to turn your work. This is the way it's upright. This is how you end it. So this is you ending your row here. So now I need you to turn your work this way. So this is you ending. And I need you to turn it this way. And I need you to single crochet 7. think I did a chain 1 there. Hold on. So I need you to single crochet 7 across. You have to make stitches again. Chain 1, turn your work. I need you to do 1 single crochet in each row for 10 rows from here. So that means you have 11 altogether. Here we did 8 from the first row, which means you have 9 altogether. So 10 rows from here, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so now I need you to turn your work like this. And you're going to make 4 single crochets. And you chain 1, you turn your work, and you're going to do this for 5 rows. And then we're going to single crochet around the whole entire project. And I'll meet you back here after your 5 rows are done. So I am done my 5 rows. So from here, we are going to single crochet all around the whole entire project. And then you're going to have to make a second one to match. And then we'll meet back up to figure out how we're going to either sew or crochet the 2 pieces together, and then stuff it, which is not easy, let me tell you, with all the twists and turns. So wherever you can get your hook in, you're just going to put a single crochet, and you're going to do that all the way around. Now some places obviously do have they obviously do have a spot you can do that. I put one here, but I kind of elongated the stitch. And then there's stitches here I can follow, so all the way around, wherever, when there's not a stitch, wherever you can stick your hook into. And I will meet you back here. Alright, so I'm all the way around. So in your next stitch, you're just going to go in and you're going to make a slip stitch. And you're going to fasten off. Unless you want to sew this together. This I sewed together. This I'm going to crochet together. So I'm going to put my two sides together. And I'm going to crochet them together. Because I think it's going to be too time consuming. So find your corner to start. Because I just think it's going to be too time consuming. Because it took me forever to whip stitch that. So just go stitch for stitch. If you're going to do it this way, you can do it however way you want to. Either way, we need to put the two ends together. And I've done my emoji pillows and stuff like that. I did this. And it looked perfectly fine, and it was perfectly fine. So, do whatever you're going to do. If you're doing what I'm doing, you have to go stitch for stitch, or you're going to get bunching. And this is not the easiest on the corners, but it can happen. But you certainly don't want bunching, so you really, really just need to make sure you're going stitch for stitch. So it's pretty easy except for the corners and the little areas such as this coming up. But other than that, it is certainly a lot quicker than trying to whip stitch it all together. So don't forget, you got to leave a little opening, or you can try to stuff this as you go. I stuffed the difficult parts as I went on my other one. Try not to overstuff. This is a big tail, and on my other one, I think I put too much stuffing in it, and it just pulls him over. Like, I can't get it to sit up. I have to lean him against something. So just keep in mind when you are stuffing, but you might want to stuff as you go when you get to a certain point. Right now is kind of pointless, but when you get to a certain point, because this can be difficult, and that's kind of why I left it to the last. And if you notice down here on the end of his tail that's going to be sewn to his body, the real Pikachu, it's actually brown, but I didn't go through all that trouble either. I just made it yellow. So other than that, it's pretty close to what a Pikachu looks like. So these ends are hard. You'll have to just kind of use your hands and guide it along, because it can be quite awkward. But once you get past it, you're on a roll again. So I will meet you back when I decide I'm going to put some stuffing in it, or whenever you decide to unpause me. I will see you, and we'll get this done. So I've come this far. I'm going to start stuffing this part. It's hard enough to hold on to, and crochet, but I wouldn't even be this far if I was sewing. Well, I don't sew very well, but I don't think it looks too bad. I don't think it looks too bad at all, crocheting it as opposed to sewing it, so it's not that much difference. So I'm going to try not to overstuff this time. I am bad for either overstuffing or understuffing. I never can find a happy medium, but so this is where it's going to get tricky. So I just finished putting stuffing in there. Now again, I'm not putting a whole lot of stuffing because my other tail was way too heavy. Somehow I got to fill this part up. So this is the tricky part. You're going to have to do half or so, and then stick some in with just your fingers to get it in the edge. So a lot of this is getting sewn to the back just so it stands up properly. I did sew a lot of it to the back. So you do actually need stuffing for, well, I guess you don't. You can sew this without stuffing, but when you go to weave, you're not going to have anything to weave. And part of it having stuffing and part of it not having stuffing, I think would just be ridiculous. So it's not a whole lot. It's just a little bit like the rest of it. So I guess it wasn't as awkward as I thought. It was way more awkward when I was putting way more stuffing in, so. Alright, so I'm just going to go into this next stitch. Maybe not. There we go. And I'm going to slip stitch. And I'm going to fasten off with a tail where I'm going to sew part of this to the doll. So as you can see, it's not sewn all that well, but I did sew like half of it just to keep it upright. So you're gonna need quite a bit of tail. But before we do this, we got to do our black lines on our back. We're going to start with a slip knot. The lines go like this. Now, if you've ever looked at a Pikachu's back before, I didn't know there was lines there, but chain 21. Here's 21. So you're going to put 2 single crochets in. You're starting in the first stitch you can get into. Do 2 single crochets over 2 stitches. Then you're going to do 4 half doubles over 4 stitches. You're going to do 8 double crochets. And you should be all out of stitches. You can fasten off, pull your slip knot shut. Fasten off with a sewing tail. I don't know if that's easy to see or not, but it's got a certain shape to it. Probably hard to see on camera. Anyway, make another one of those. I'm going to put my screens up with your instructions on it, and then you can sew it to the back of your guy. I'll sew one at least with you to the back. This can just get tucked away and do whatever you want with that one. So I'll meet you back here after you have your second one and at least one on, and I'll sew on the other one with you. Alright, so I got my second one made. I'm just going to hide this guy. So I didn't pin mine down or anything, I just held it in place because my pins suck. So I'm going to go down just behind my lead. I'm going to grab some of the doll and I'm just going to pop right back up. I'm going to pull snug, but I'm not going to pull tight. I'm going to go back in again behind my lead and come up, and that's how I'm going to sew all the way across. That way you're not going to see any stitches from the side. So it doesn't have to be super straight or super perfect or anything else because it is Pikachu. And I'm pretty sure his are not super straight or super. So I'm going to go down into the black I'm going to pop out there in his bum, or wherever you're going to pop out. Cut enough off that you leave enough to make a knot. So you're just going to make a small knot. Cut off a little bit more. And then you're just going to poke that down into his filling. Tail and all. There, so now we can sew on this tail, which can be really, really difficult. So this tail is not nearly as heavy because I didn't put as much. So this is what his tail looks like. Oh, I guess you can't see because my camera doesn't have a wide angle lens yet. So you're going to be sewing this onto his butt like this. So I went about halfway because I thought it was going to be okay. And I didn't want it to look overly silly. Going all the way across his butt. So I'm going to sew this on actually the same way, I think. I'm just going to take smaller stitches. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. I just want to make sure it's well sewed on. I don't think I sewed the tail on. I'm using my ball to hold up that side. So my battery's going to die, so I would suggest you just figure out a way to sew this on, because taking lessons from me in sewing is a bad idea. I'm going to sew across here. I'm going to sew up through the middle here and then through the middle here into the back, and hopefully it stays in place. So that's my plan. So I'll do as much as I can till my battery dies, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I've went up here, through here, came back around down here, sewed all the way around, and I'm over here right now. And I think it's good because when I sit it up, he still falls over though. The tail's still too heavy that he's falling over. Let me lift this up. So I think I just have to, because it is just kind of leaning back a little bit. I think I just got to secure it right up where I am here. And that should be okay. Should be. But make sure you do weave it in, because that's super important. You don't want it to come loose, or you still want it to be tight. And go in different directions, back and forth. If you pull too tight, just pull your stuff out. Like, it's not a huge big deal. I think that's good. I'm going to tie my regular knot and then poke it in. And then we are all done. So your knot doesn't have to be tight when you make this knot. It doesn't have to be tight. It just has to be a knot. A knot that's going to be big enough to stop if somebody's tugging on something from it going anywhere. So there we have it. The tail's still probably, I hardly put anything in it, but it's a big tail. But Pikachu has a big tail, so there we go. It's hard to show. I'll lean it up against my computer, see if I can sit up. There. A little bit. My other guy. my other guy there. There. He's got a meaner looking face than that guy does. But not bad. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.